G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. This episode we're putting the 4-link kit on the bench over there into the back of this Holden Colorado. So first job on the list is to get these chassis plates onto the chassis. So you can see here it's pretty well cleaned up. I do need to go back through and sort of clean off where I am going to be welding along the top and bottom of these rails. And we also have to clean up these chassis plates. You can see they've still got the mill scale and a little bit of surface rust on them, so I'm going to clean them right back. So weld through primer on the plates, on the chassis. I'm toying with the idea of actually going through and then trying to weld up all these little holes. The idea being that those little holes, even though you weld through primer, it's only a primer, so it's going to be somewhat porous. So whether I'm going to put some silicone on that, or like maybe just try and weld up all those little holes, just to try and seal those holes up and stop any water, dirt, salt getting in behind that chassis plate and creating issues in the future. I did see a really good episode from Uncle Paulie. He did an episode a few weeks ago where he was doing a similar job. He was doing the back end of a 79, and he was explaining that the weld through primer, you can weld through it, but it's best to remove any contaminants from the process, from the welding. It's going to create inclusion in the weld. So I am going to go through, weld through primer it all, and then come through, tack it on, and then clean off that edge as per Uncle Paulie's specifications, which I think is obviously good advice. What I'm actually going to do, once I get it tacked on, I'll be stitch welding it. I'm going to fully weld it. The engineer's happy with either way. So what I'm going to do, it's going to take a long time to do that, to keep everything cool. So I'm going to bounce between welding this up and finish welding off the diff and all the brackets. So I'm going to bounce between it all, spread it all out. I've got the welder set up so I don't have to really move it around too much. So I'll bounce back and forth and get it all welded out. Good times. Instead of doing silicone, I decided just to weld those holes up. That's what I did on the front when I did the solid axle swap. I'm pretty sure I did the same thing. So I've gone through and filled up all the little holes I could. There was one hole just here that's probably too big to fill without putting some like brass behind it or something, or putting an actual patch in. And I just thought it better just to drill out the plate. So you were seeing there I was drilling out the hole saw. That's that hole there, and I'll just weld around it. I'm still going to weld through primer on it, this face and the other side, just for peace of mind more than anything, in case there is a little pinhole or whatever dirt. Look, it's probably getting a bit carried away and over the top compared to what other people do. I don't know why they don't do it. Put a comment down below if you know why people don't go to this extent. Is it just a time and work effort thing? Let me know, because I've done it on the front, I'm doing it on the back. If there's another reason well, I'm screwing the whole show up here, let me know. The engineer was happy with it, so I'm not too concerned, but yeah, let me know. Got those chassis plates tacked on, and I've got the first run of stitch welds on. I'll leave that for an hour or so, let that cool right down so it's cool to touch, and I'll come back and do another lot. It'll probably take me 3 or 4 goes to get the fully welded out. I've left this one off because I have a feeling, and something that Justin from Ironhide mentioned to me, that I might have to extend this back bit of the chassis here to fit the GU fuel tank. So I'm leaving it for now, because if I do need to extend it, I'll get a new plate made to the right length instead of having to have another butt weld right at the end of the chassis there. I'll go over to the bench and weld all that junk up. That's 90% of the welding done on the chassis plates and the diff and coil brace or coil tower there. Now we've got to go through and obviously welding all these up as well. So we've got to go through and actually mount these up. So they sit on the chassis in here like this, hard up against this cross member here. That sort of locates it. Yeah, you really can't stuff it up really, as long as it's clamped up tight, cleaned up. It's yeah, nice and easy. So I'm gonna go through, clean up all my bird shit welds and polish this up. We can weld it on. Alright, so I've got the coil spring cross member in, so it takes the shocks and the coils in here. Now, well, that's what I was waiting to get in to see if the GU tank would fit, to see if I was going to need to actually extend these plates. So I've had it sat in and it fits quite well. It won't mount the way that the Ironhide kit designs it to mount, so it wasn't going to work anyway, and Justin didn't supply it, so that's fine. So I'll mount it off the cross member here like they do in the Ironhide kit, but on the rear mount I'm going to have to mount it off the tow bar. So I'm making a new tow bar. It'll mount off the tow bar itself, so if you ever need to remove the tow bar, you'll have to prop the fuel tank up or something, but I've never had to remove a tow bar before, really, very rarely, so can't see it being a big issue. So what I'll be able to do now is go through and weld these on. Like now I know I don't have to extend the chassis or anything to make the fuel tank fit, so I'll just be able to go ahead and weld these on. So that's most of the fabrication done on the car itself and the axle housing. It's 90% there now. It's just that last 10% we're sort of getting to at the moment. So we've still got to do the fuel tank mounting, which I've got to do the tow bar first because it's sort of going to be half integrated, I think, at this stage. Still got to do the sway bar mount, which I haven't bought yet. It's going to be another torsion bar style sway bar, similar to the front. It's set more of an off-the-shelf one. That front one was actually designed for a GU. This one is just going to be an off-the-shelf sort of DFI bar. So what we actually have to do now is, one of the next jobs we've got to do is go onto the axle housing itself and adapt the RC Colorado ABS sensor into the 80 series housing. We'll go over the bench there and I'll sort of run you through it. This is the parts I'm working with here. Some of them I won't be using, but just I've got it laid out here to give you an example or give you an idea of what I'm doing and why I'm going that way. So over here we have the original 80 series rear hub and brake assembly. As you can see here on the smaller camera, you'll see that there is no tone ring. This is the later model hub assembly here that has the tone wheel or tone ring on it. Okay, that is the metal bit that helps send the pulse signal to your ABS controller. Down here we've got the two ABS sensors. This small one is the RC Colorado one, and this large one is the 80 series one. So the way that it sets up, it pokes through the back of the hub and will actually mount very close to this tone ring. And it's what's called a Hall effect sensor, and it's basically sends an on and off signal back to your ABS control module. And when those aren't aligning, so when they're not getting the same pulse signal across all four wheels, then essentially the ABS control module will take over and start braking the wheel that needs to be braked. The problem we have is obviously these two are different sizes. I can't just bolt that in to where it would usually bolt in because it will sit too far away from the tone wheel. It won't work. So what I need to do is actually modify the housing. I have to notch the housing, make up a bush, get something machined that will actually allow me to weld it to the housing, and so it will place this very close, about 2 mil away from the tone ring, so it will work. All right, so a little bit technical, but that's what we're working with here. So I'll go through, I have to draw that on SolidWorks, and I'll send it off to machinists to get made. Hopefully they can make it. I can't see why they won't, but make something like that so we can actually make that sit where we want it to sit. Some of you might be thinking, why not just patch in the 80 series sensor into the original Colorado harness? Good thought. I had the same idea, but from a little bit of research, I've found that it probably won't work due to the two sensors having different resistance readings. So it'll just throw a fault code when you patch the 80 series harness in saying it's a faulty sensor. So I don't think that idea will work. I'm just going to go straight down to the adapting the Colorado
sensor into the 80 series housing. So this is a bush here that we've just measured up. I'll have to send that off for quoting to the machinist, see what that price comes back with. If it's ridiculous or, going to take a lot of time for them to do it, then I'll have to come up with a plan B, but we'll sort that out in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.